The past, present, and future in Colorado have been shaped by incredible women.
They've not only influenced Colorado, but they've influenced the United States, and they've also influenced the world.
Literally blazing the trail.
There is no single person that is more responsible for us having a Colorado Trail than Gail Gaskill. And it was a dream, and she completed it.
And breaking the glass ceiling.
She was an entrepreneur before women could be entrepreneurs.
In honor of Women's History Month, we're introducing you to some of those women who have made incredible contributions here in Colorado and beyond. Hello, and thanks for watching this Denver 7 Plus special presentation, Trailblazing Colorado Women. I'm Micah Smith. We start out on the highways in the skies and with a woman who made history as the first female civilian air traffic controller right here in Denver. Jeff Anastasio spoke with a family member who remembers the legacy of Mary Van Syke.
She'd roller skate as fast as she could so she could maybe take off and fly.
She was destined for adventure, but to Betty Carson,
She was just mom. It just seemed normal to me.
Mary Van Syke was born to fly. And in the early 1930s, a family friend helped her take flight.
And he'd been trying to build some airplanes. He kept crashing them, but finally, I think it was on his 13th try or something, he got one to stay in the air.
Her very first airplane ride was with Clyde Cessna, the namesake and founder of the famous aircraft company. Captured in this incredible moment on film, Mary got her wings.
Her first solo, that was December 27, 1938. It was the day after her 19th birthday.
She went off to Wichita University, studied PE and English, but was determined to get her own pilot's license.
She heard about a brand new course after school had started called the Civilian Pilot Training Course.
They told her there was no room.
There were already 30 boys in that class. So she kept stopping by every day to ask if anybody dropped out.
Finally, someone did, and they let her in.
So she was the only girl in that Civilian Pilot Training class.
She graduated, taught school for a year in a small Kansas town.
They were not too sure about her. She was young and she rode motorcycles. She played tennis on Sundays in her shorts. And so it was a pretty scandalous deal.
Determined fighting men.
Then the war broke out, and there was a need for air traffic controllers.
Up until then, only men could have those jobs. They decided, well, maybe the girls could do them after all.
She was hired on the spot, and Mary chased her dream west to Colorado.
On June 1st, 1942, she took a train out to Denver, got off the train, got on a streetcar, and headed east toward the airport.
The Denver Airway Traffic Control Center had just opened. No computers and no radar. Air traffic control was in its infancy.
She liked being up in the tower where the action was.
It would be another 50 years before Mary would learn something big, that she was a trailblazer among pioneers.
That she was probably the first female civilian air traffic controller in the country. There had been military women air traffic controllers before that. She was proud. She told everybody.
After making history in Denver, Mary returned to Kansas, started a family, kept up her great adventures, and soared high well into her senior years, clearing the runway for other women in aviation, showing others how it's done. Jeff Anastasio, Denver 7.
A woman breaking the glass ceiling of sorts today is Jen Ritter. She is Denver Mayor Mike Johnston's chief of staff. We spoke with her about the importance of women in leadership and about making the role her own.
We've obviously, I think, not had a lot of women leaders on the elected level. We've never had a woman governor, we've never had a woman senator, we've never had a woman mayor, and we have a lot of work to do still. Knowing that I'm in this position and knowing that I have to just do it my own way and be my authentic self in that way, that because you don't see women in the positions all the time, I feel like I have to make it up, and the best way to make it up is by being myself, and that proves to other women that they can do it too.
She said the future is bright for women in business in Denver, as the city is one of the best for women entrepreneurs. Some good news to report when it comes to equal pay for women in the workforce. While there is still a disparity between pay for men and women, recent data shows that gap is narrowing 3 times faster in Colorado than it is in other states. The gap was reduced by 7 cents since 2021 here in our state to 87 cents on the dollar. That's according to the Women's Foundation of Colorado. Simone DeRoss, the CEO of the Colorado Women's Chamber, told us the improvement is thanks in part to the Equal Pay for Equal Work Act Colorado implemented in 2021. The law requires employers to post a salary range with the job opening so applicants can know right away how much they will earn.
What this means is that women in Colorado are taking home roughly $2,952 extra than they had been before we passed this legislation. And so that's a big deal for women in Colorado.
But a pay gap still exists, and Ross says work still needs to be done. Men in Colorado made a median income of $60,000 in 2022, while that number for women was $48,000. So what's holding down wages for women? Ross says it comes back to biases we may not even be aware of.
It's a significant discrepancy for women, specifically because there's a lot of implicit bias around creating access to capital for people. You know, implicit biases are things that we all possess, right? It's a neurological design. Our brains help us form opinions based on experiences. It becomes problematic when our implicit biases are informed by stereotypes, informed by prejudice, informed by sexism or racism.
Some also argue the narrowing of the gender wage gap is artificial and due to changes to the labor force spurred by the coronavirus pandemic. There are more than 1 million fewer women in the labor force now than there were at the beginning of 2020. Our next story takes us back to the late 19th century and the early years of Colorado statehood, when a woman here in Denver was doing something no woman had done before. As Landon Hoff shows us, she wore many hats as the operator of one of Colorado's most famous venues.
You may know that Elich Gardens was an actual botanic garden and zoo before it was an urban amusement park. What you may not know is the story of the trailblazing, bear-handling woman who paved the way for more than 100 years of business there. Her name is Mary Elich.
Mary Elich is kind of this forgotten figure that she was an entrepreneur before women could be entrepreneurs.
Mary Elich was married to John Elich. As the Colorado Women's Hall of Fame describes, the couple moved to Denver in the early 1880s and opened a restaurant. They bought an apple orchard northwest of Denver with intentions of using it to grow fruit and vegetables for the restaurant. But Mary's dreams were bigger than that. So that plot of land at what is now 38th and Tennyson became Elich Zoological Gardens, which opened to the public in 1890 as Denver's very first entertainment venue. After a successful first year, the Eliches decided to build a theater on the park grounds. But John Elich died in 1891, making Mary the only woman in the world operating a park of this kind.
So Mary Elich was this 35-year-old widow, and she was left running a botanic gardens, a zoo, and a theater. And she ran it for about 25 years.
And yes, those are bears on some sort of leash, and that's Mary Elich herself. Several photos from the Elich Gardens archives show Mary handling exotic wildlife, in addition to tending to the plants at those original gardens. She loved the work so much that she lived on park grounds until her death in 1936. Mary Elich's unlikely run as the park's operator gained the admiration of the public.
When she retired, they had a big party for her down at the Denver Auditorium, and it was sold out. It was packed. There were even like 100 people outside who couldn't even get in, but they just wanted to be there to be part of it because she was so well loved.
Elich Gardens, of course, closed in its original location in the mid-90s and moved downtown. The Elich Theater was abandoned for decades. Last year, Denver 7 reported on the effort to revive that theater and bring live performances back to its stage. And that effort is being made with Mary Elich in mind.
This is kind of her legacy. She's kind of our muse now because we want to continue the amazing spirit that she created here.
For Denver 7, I'm Landon Hoff.
Still ahead, a 500-mile tour through Colorado's nature is a reality thanks to one woman's love for the outdoors and undying determination.
That makes me really, sorry, but proud that she accomplished what she wanted to accomplish, yeah.
Meet the mother of the Colorado Trail after the break. But first, our next Women's History Month spotlight takes us to the fairways, or the track, the court, the diamond, and pretty much anywhere else sports are played. Babe Didrikson Zaharias won 82 golf tournaments in her lifetime and was a founding member of the LPGA. She was also an Olympic track and field champion and even pitched in Major League Baseball games.
Babe Zaharias was, in my opinion, the greatest athlete, male or female, who ever lived. She was proficient in 17 different sports. She won Olympic medals, she won US medals, she won all kinds of awards for her Olympic prowess. So I think she's the greatest athlete that ever lived.
Welcome back to this Denver 7 Plus special presentation, Trailblazing Colorado Women. And what better woman to include than one who literally blazed a trail? Gail Gaskill is known as the mother of the Colorado Trail. And as Stephanie Butzer shows us, the iconic trail may not exist at all without her relentlessness.
To save something, you have to appreciate it. And what better way to appreciate something than to experience it?
And my mom made the point that if you don't have people enjoying it, you won't be able to save it. You need people out in nature and hiking the trails and being out there doing things.
It was that belief that led Gail Gaskill to fight tooth and nail to connect the iconic Colorado Trail, a 500-mile route from the mountains west of Denver to Durango.
There is no single person that is more responsible for us having a Colorado Trail than Gail Gaskill. She is the mother of the Colorado Trail, and it was a dream, and she completed it.
After years of trail volunteering work, she stepped into the role of president of the Colorado Mountain Club in 1977, the first woman to do so. At the time, a female leader did not appeal to everybody, but that didn't slow Gail down.
The other thing that she pushed quite a bit was to show that women could get things done. Women can get things done. Women can move things along. Women are just as productive as men.
When Gail became involved with connecting the Colorado Trail, the path didn't even have a route. Luckily, she had a family willing to help.
We had our entire living room covered with maps, and we're all on the floor, like looking at different trails and existing routes.
Authorities were still iffy on the idea of the trail. So, to make it a reality, Gail had to round up volunteers.
And so to me, it was always how impressive that she could get such a great team working for her, and they're all excited to be part of it. All these people on her trail crews got some little memento that she had hand-painted, sometimes of them, sometimes of the scenery they were in. So she was always like leaving something special for everybody that worked for her.
The Colorado Trail was officially connected in 1987.
It makes me really, sorry, but proud that she accomplished what she wanted to accomplish, yeah. I just feel happy that, she got it done and I get to hike it and experience it.
He connects to his mom's purpose when he's out on the Colorado Trail.
And you meet people, they're so moved by their experience of the Colorado Trail and what it means to them to be out in the wilderness for so long and like life-changing experiences by doing that. And I think, well, that's because my mom, that's kind of what she wanted them to do. She wanted people to have that experience. She wanted people to feel so in touch with nature that they would protect nature.
Oh my gosh, what a great way to see a big piece of the Colorado mountains. And so many people today enjoy the trail itself, or they enjoy being trail stewards, or even just contributing money to sustain the effort. It's just it's a wonderful story all the way around.
For Denver 7,
thank you, Gail Gaskill.
I'm Stephanie Butzer.
You may recognize Gail's name. You can find it in places across the state, from Littleton's Gail Gaskill Elementary School to a bridge over the South Platte River between segments of the Colorado Trail to a bench on a Durango overlook aptly named Gail's Rest. Oftentimes, though, we don't get to know the names of the first responders behind some of our state's most notable rescues. But Denver 7 sat down with Joanne Greenberg, one of the first responders to rescue Lori Poland, a toddler who was left for dead in a 10-foot toilet pit in 1983. She described going into the outhouse and hearing a voice come up from the hole saying, "I'm hungry." She helped get the young girl out and take her to the hospital. But that's not where this story ended.
50 years later, they're celebrating Genesee's Fire's 50th. They had her up and they invited me, and we reconnected, and a couple of days we're going to have lunch again. We have lunch with each other.
Joanne was one of the first women on the Lookout Mountain Fire Department, and then she eventually trained to become an EMT. She was both a 6th grade teacher and professor at Colorado School of Mines, and now at 91 years old, she's releasing her 21st book. We have more details about the storied life of Joanne on Denver7.com. This next story is about a woman who just celebrated her 100th birthday. She takes us back to a time where there weren't many women, especially women of color, who were able to enjoy Colorado's great outdoors. But Valeria Tanaka carved out space for herself and many others. There's an old saying that goes, the first 100 years are the hardest.
Yeah.
And for Valeria Henrietta Tanaka,
I don't feel any older than I did when I was about 55 or 60.
the first 100 have been full of love, adventure, and some signature Valeria spunk.
I was born in Memphis, Tennessee, and it was the 10th of March, 1924. My family didn't live there for very long. The family moved to St. Louis.
Valeria spent her formative years in the Show Me State, but when she got word of an opportunity on the West Coast, she took it.
Then I heard that they were hiring people to work in the shipyards. That was in 1941, yeah. And I went with a friend to Vancouver, Washington. We were working on barges.
Valeria would eventually move to Portland, Oregon, and fall in love with her first husband and skiing.
We had a friend who decided that I should know how to ski. So she took Jerry and I up skiing in Portland on Mount Hood. And at that time, the Vany magazine was doing their first article about black skiers in America. So I was in the first article the Vany magazine did on black skiers in America.
Skiing is a love that has stuck with Valeria for life, but her marriage,
what did they call it? Irreconcilable differences?
Wouldn't.
He left me.
You rebounded, though.
Oh, like the next day.
This next love would be life-changing.
I had met George Tanaka in Portland after I was divorced, or when I was there. And he followed me to St. Louis. We got married. We both started working for the Army Air Force. We moved to Colorado because the agency closed in St. Louis. The Air Force moved their financial departments to Denver. We came with the Denver group because of the fact that we could ski in Colorado.
Valeria and George would go on to have 3 kids.
And when our kids were little, we were up and down the ski slopes every weekend. I'm one of the founders of the Slippers and Sliders Ski Club.
I love that you are founder of Slippers and Sliders. Was that the first black ski club in Colorado?
Yes, it was.
The ski club is still going strong today. Valeria no longer hits the slopes, but she doesn't skip a beat.
That has puzzled me lately. Why all this hoopla about me being 100?
Her friends and children are behind the hoopla.
She came to her 100th birthday party. She's 102.
And reluctantly, Valeria is soaking it in because she knows the first 100 years may be the hardest, but every day,
I'm just somebody living every day,
is a gift. Coming up, a Colorado woman who is paying it forward in a big way. How her tireless work and endless love has helped facilitate thousands of international adoptions. Life-changing work happens in a nondescript building in Centennial. Inside, a team led by one remarkable Colorado woman runs what has become the top China adoption agency in the world. Stephanie Butzer has the story of how Lily Niye has dedicated her life to the facilitating of adoptions and lifelong support of these children who love her right back.
The hallways of Chinese Children Adoption International, CCAI, are lined with photos.
They are kind of like my children.
Of orphaned children, mostly Chinese girls, Lily Nie has united with permanent homes in the U.S.
And all orphans need to find loving homes.
Lily, CEO of CCAI, which is based out of Centennial, has dedicated her life to finding these children a permanent home while supporting the families post-adoption.
Right now we have 13,270 children.
After CCAI was licensed in 1992, Lily visited orphanages in China ahead of the first round of adoptions.
In a room like this, you have 40 cribs. The children just laying there all day and night, and they all have ear infection. They all have flat heads because nothing moving and nothing going on.
Word of the nonprofit's work spread, media shared stories, and applications to adopt spiked.
And because of China Doll article, at the end of 1994, we already have 100 applications. And that's when I said, I need to close down my computer company. I need to work full time for this.
She wanted to help beyond adoption, too. Lily saw terrible things in the orphanages and knew she could not protect every child there. She created Children Charity Fund, which would go on to raise millions to provide those children with toys, diapers, formula, food, and medical support.
And by 96, we are the top 10 agencies in the U.S. And you know that time, in the U.S. alone, there are 110 agencies doing child adoption. And then 98, we become the largest agency in the U.S. and the world.
And she has watched thousands of happy unions.
We call Gotcha Day. Even I look at the 1000th time, I cannot stop crying. It's just a dream come true for family and for the child and for us.
Adoption is just the beginning. Lily designed post-adoption support like the Joyous Chinese Cultural Center to help adopted children and adults connect to their roots.
We keep pulling them back and say, hey, like us to support you. Yeah, life is better when you have network. You have your support system.
It's something you feel as soon as you enter her office.
You come into our building, it's like a family room. We talk about children, parents, family, and happiness. We are in the business to helping children finding their parents and build happy families. And who doesn't want to do that?
For Denver 7, I'm Stephanie Butzer.
So many of these stories were made possible by the Colorado Women's Hall of Fame. Several, including Lily, are among the Hall's 189 inductees. We spoke with Barb Beckner, the Hall of Fame's board president, about the importance of remembering those women.
Being able to share and tell their stories not only increases visibility and awareness of what women actually can do, but it also, one of the things that we're working hard to do is inspiring the next generation.
The Colorado Women's Hall of Fame so far has made at least 31 films documenting the accomplishments of the inductees. The executive producer of those films says it would be a lifetime's work to create documentaries for all of the women in the Hall. They're committed to immortalizing as many as they can.
Women's stories are lost in history. So these stories are critical that we record what these women have done and preserve for history's sake.
And the window is now open to nominate women for the Hall of Fame's class of 2024. They're calling for nominations of both historical and contemporary women who have made significant and enduring contributions to her field or life focus. That call for nominations is open until May 1st, and information can be found on the Hall's website, cogreatwomen.org. Well, one woman who paved the way for future generations is Susan Helms. She was the first military woman in space and is the world record holder for longest spacewalk at just under 9 hours. This month, another Colorado woman joined the astronaut ranks. Nicole Ayers graduated from NASA's astronaut training program on March 5th. She's now eligible for spaceflight, and while many women have come before her, she hopes to be part of the new discoveries in spaceflight.
I'm excited to just follow and help contribute to the NASA mission and science on the space station potentially, learning how to live long-term in space so we can try to get to the moon and then get to Mars and figure out how this long-duration spaceflight really goes when we get to Mars.
She and 9 others were chosen for astronaut training from thousands of applicants back in 2021. A local artist honoring the women in his life with a mural. Still ahead, the meaning behind the piece and how it's gained the love of a community. Welcome back. One of the most popular images in our photography group on Facebook is of this mural in Longmont, shared in honor of Women's History Month. In an otherwise unassuming sandwich shop parking lot lives a local artist's homage to the women in his life. We caught up with that artist to learn the meaning behind the piece.
Originally, this was only going to be up for about a month or 2. This wall was supposed to be painted over every 2 or 3 months. Once I painted this one, it's like, you can't paint over it. There's symbolism in any kind of art, whether you want it there to be or not. The mural literally is a mural of 4 women in my family: my grandmother, my mother, my sister, and my niece. Sadly, my grandmother passed away a year ago, so now it's more important. It was a concept I had that I was waiting for the right opportunity for, showing the lineage of a family and specifically women braiding each other's hair. It's more of them just spending time with each other, teaching, but in this natural scenario, common, brushing each other's hair. When we took the photos, these are their actual expressions. The more people that appreciate it, the more I care about it and understand the image connected with more people than I expected it to. I can't thank people enough for seeing things in it that I probably never would have seen.
Well, that does it for this Denver 7 Plus special presentation of Trailblazing Colorado Women. If you're just joining us, you can stream the entire episode right now on Denver 7 Plus for your favorite streaming device. And you can read all of these stories on denver7.com/women's history. Until next time, I'm Micah Smith.